Why the revolution failed. The pattern you need to see. Stop for a second. Think about the last time a politician promised to drain the swamp, or fight for the working class, or take power back from the elites. Now think about what happened after they won. Did they drain the swamp, or just replace it with their own people? Did they fight for workers, or cut deals with the same corporations they criticized? Did they give power to the people, or concentrate it in their own hands? This isn't a coincidence. This is a pattern. And George Orwell decoded it in 1945 with a 100-page book about farm animals. Animal Farm shows you exactly how revolutions fail. Not through grand betrayals or dramatic coups, but through small, predictable steps that happen so gradually you don't notice until it's too late. By the end of this, you'll see the pattern everywhere. In history, in politics, maybe even in your own life. Let's break it down. 1. Power concentrated in the hands of the few. The moment it started, day one after the revolution, the animals are celebrating their freedom. They've chased the humans off the farm. For the first time in their lives, they're in control. And then the pigs speak up. Comrades, we pigs are the brain workers. We'll organize everything. Don't worry, we'll make sure it's fair. Seems reasonable, right? Someone has to lead. Someone has to make decisions. The pigs can read and write. It makes sense. This is the trap. Why it matters. Once the pigs controlled the meetings, they controlled the agenda, what gets discussed, the information, what others know, the interpretation, what the rules mean, the resources, who gets what. The other animals were too busy with physical labor to notice, too tired to question, too trusting to challenge. Within weeks, the pigs were sleeping in the farmhouse, eating apples, drinking milk, making rules that benefited themselves. And every time someone questioned it, Squealer had an answer. It's for the good of all animals. We need our strength to think clearly. Surely you don't want Jones to come back. The fatal flaw. Here's the thing about power. Once you centralize it, you can't uncentralize it peacefully. The pigs weren't going to voluntarily give up control. Why would they? They had comfortable beds, good food, and everyone doing what they said. And the other animals? They had no mechanism to remove the pigs. No elections, no votes, no checks and balances. They'd won the revolution but lost the power to protect it. See it everywhere. Revolutionary parties that become the new ruling class? Lenin, Mao, Castro, startup founders who temporarily consolidate power and never let go politicians who promise to fight elites. Then surround themselves with billionaires' movements that start democratic but end up run by a small inner circle. The pattern. Just let me lead for now, we'll figure out democracy later. Later never comes. 2. Education gap was weaponized. The brutal reality. Let me paint you a picture. The pigs? They can read fluently. They have access to books, can do math, understand complex ideas. Boxer the horse? After trying his absolute hardest, he can only learn 4 letters. A, B, C, D. That's it. The sheep? They can barely remember a single slogan. For legs good, 2 legs bad. For legs good, 2 legs bad. For legs good, 2 legs bad. This wasn't an accident. You know what the pigs didn't do after the revolution? Build schools. Run literacy programs. Make sure every animal could read. Snowball tried. He held reading classes. But once Napoleon took over, those classes disappeared. Why? Because an educated population is dangerous to tyrants. What education does. If the animals could read, they would have noticed the 7 commandments being secretly changed at night. Questioned Squealer's fake statistics about food. Production remembered the original principles and held leaders accountable, organized effectively to resist. But they couldn't, so they didn't. When Squealer told them food production increased by 200%, they had no way to verify it. When the commandment changed from "no animal shall sleep in a bed" to no animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets. They thought they'd remembered it wrong. The weapon: control what people know, and you control what they can imagine. If you've never read about democracy, how can you demand it? If you don't know your history, how can you recognize when it's repeating? If you can't do basic math, how can you spot when someone's lying with statistics? The pigs kept the other animals just smart enough to work, but not smart enough to question. See it everywhere. Authoritarian regimes that control education and burn books, politicians who say, "I love the poorly educated." Media that keeps people outraged but not informed, systems that make education expensive and inaccessible. Algorithms that feed you engagement instead of understanding. The pattern: keep them busy, keep them confused, keep them just educated enough to follow orders. 3. Absence of accountability. The turning point. There's a moment in Animal Farm that changes everything. Snowball and Napoleon are debating the windmill. The animals are listening, trying to decide who's right. It's an actual debate. Democracy in action. Then Napoleon does something no one expects. He makes a strange noise, a high-pitched whimper. 9 massive dogs burst into the barn. These are the puppies Napoleon had been raising in secret. Now they're fully grown, vicious, and loyal only to him. They chase Snowball off the farm. Just like that. No trial, no vote, no process. Violence defeated democracy in 30 seconds. What just died? In that moment, the revolution's last safeguard disappeared. Before, animals could debate, disagree, choose between competing visions. After, there was only Napoleon's vision. Question it and the dogs come for you. The structural problem. The animals built a system based on trust instead of structure. They trusted the pigs would stay good. They trusted leaders would act in everyone's interest. They trusted that winning the revolution meant the work was done. They were wrong. Without systems to hold leaders accountable, Napoleon could break every promise, boxers' retirement, rules could change overnight, commandments secretly altered, resources could be stolen, selling wheat to buy whiskey, violence could replace justice, show trials and executions, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. Why democracies have boring stuff. This is why real democracies have all that boring institutional stuff. Separation of powers, executive, legislative, judicial branches, term limits, can't be king forever, free press, independent watchdogs, elections, peaceful way to remove bad leaders, courts, protect rights from majority rule, transparency laws. You get to see what they're doing. These aren't optional extras. They're the only things standing between you and tyranny. See it everywhere. Leaders who dismiss investigations as witch hunts, executives who pack courts, with loyalist presidents who refuse to leave office. After losing politicians who attack the press as enemies of the people. Anyone who says, "Just trust me," instead of accepting oversight. The pattern. The rules are getting in the way of progress. Let me bypass them. Just this once. Once becomes forever. For propaganda replaced truth. Meet Squealer. Imagine the most manipulative person you know. Now make them 10 times more clever. Give them complete control over all information. Remove any way to fact-check them. That's Squealer. How he operates. Animals notice the pigs are sleeping in beds. Animal: wait, doesn't the commandment say no animal shall sleep in a bed? Squealer: no, comrade. It says no animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets. We removed the sheets. Check the wall if you don't believe me. Narrator: the wall now says with sheets. Squealer changed it last night. Squealer: surely you remember it correctly? Or do you want Jones to come back? Animal: oh, I must have remembered wrong. Sorry. The techniques. 1. Gaslighting. make you doubt your own memory. 2. Fear-mongering. Every question ends with, "Do you want Jones back?" 3. Fake statistics. Food production up 200%. It's actually down 30%. 4. Rewriting history. Snowball was always a traitor, even at the Battle of the Cowshed. 5. Complexity as confusion. Use big words and complicated explanations until people give up trying to understand. Why it works. Most animals can't read. They can't verify facts. They have no independent news source, no way to compare stories. Squealer speaks with confidence. He has numbers and details. He seems so sure. And the alternative, believing their leaders are lying to their faces, is too scary to accept. So they convince themselves they must be wrong. The goal of propaganda. Here's what people get wrong about propaganda. They think the goal is to make you believe lies. Wrong. The goal is to make you unable to believe anything. When you can't tell truth from lies, you become paralyzed. You stop resisting because you're not sure what's real anymore. You give up on truth entirely and just follow whoever seems most confident. The final commandment. By the end, there's only one commandment left. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. This is logically impossible. It's a contradiction in one sentence. And that's the point. When language breaks down this completely, when equal can mean unequal, truth has died. See it everywhere. Politicians who lie so constantly you can't keep track, alternative facts and fake news, accusations, social media bots spreading conflicting stories, leaders who contradict themselves daily and expect you to forget news sources that report completely different versions of the same event. The pattern. If everything is a lie, nothing is. If you can't know what's true, you stop trying. 5. Violence, silence, dissent. The terror begins. One day, Napoleon calls a meeting. Animals gather. He announces that traitors have been found working with Snowball. His dogs drag 4 pigs forward. The pigs confess to ridiculous crimes, probably under threat. Then the dogs rip their throats out. In front of everyone, more animals are forced to confess. Hens who hid eggs. Sheep who urinated in the drinking pool. All obviously false. All executed. The animals stand in shocked silence. Blood soaking into the ground. Bodies piled up. The message. This is what happens when you question me. The psychology of terror. Here's what violence does. It isolates people. After the executions, animals stop talking to each other. Who can you trust? What if they're an informant? What if they report you? It makes you self-censor. You learn to police your own thoughts. Even thinking disloyal thoughts feels dangerous. It normalizes submission. Each time you stay silent while someone else is punished, it gets easier the next time. Soon submission feels normal, natural, safe. It makes collective action impossible. Revolution requires coordination. But when everyone's afraid and isolated, no one can organize. The question everyone asks, am I the only one who thinks this is wrong? Everyone else seems fine with it. Maybe I'm crazy. Better to stay quiet and survive. This is what tyrants count on. You're not the only one, but everyone thinks they are. So everyone stays silent, and silence looks like consent. See it everywhere. Stalin's Great Purge, millions killed for disloyalty. Police states that disappear. Critics workplace cultures where questioning leadership ends careers. Online mobs that attack anyone who steps out of line. Any system where fear replaces debate. The pattern, make an example. Everyone else will police themselves. 6. Apathy and cynicism. 1. Meet Benjamin. Benjamin the donkey breaks my heart. He's old. He's smart. He can read. He sees everything. The commandments being changed, the pigs. Lies, Napoleon's tyranny. Boxer being exploited. And he does absolutely nothing. His philosophy. Donkeys live a long time. None of you has ever seen a dead donkey. Translation: I've seen it all before. Things were bad under Jones. They're bad under Napoleon. They'll always be bad. Why bother fighting? Nothing ever really changes. The tragedy: Benjamin had everything needed to resist. Knowledge, he could read and remember. Intelligence, he understood politics. Respect, other animals listened to him. Longevity, he'd outlast Napoleon. His silence was complicity. The one time he tries. When Boxer collapses and the van arrives, Benjamin finally acts. He reads the side: horse slaughterer and glue boiler. He runs. He screams. He tries to warn everyone, tries to save Boxer. Too late. The van drives away. Boxer is gone. Benjamin learned the hardest lesson. Cynicism kills as surely as violence. The self-fulfilling prophecy. Nothing ever changes becomes true because people who believe it don't try to change anything. Your inaction guarantees the outcome you feared. Why smart people choose cynicism? It feels safer than hope. Hope is vulnerable. Hope can be disappointed. Cynicism protects you from disappointment. I knew this would happen. Feels better than I believed and was betrayed. But cynicism is a luxury. The people suffering don't have the option of checking out. Your withdrawal doesn't hurt the powerful. It hurts the vulnerable who needed your voice. See it everywhere. Both sides are the same. While one side strips rights, voting doesn't matter. While authoritarians rely on low turnout. The system's rigged. While doing nothing to change it, smart people who see problems but won't engage. Privilege allowing disengagement from consequences. The pattern. Everything's terrible and there's nothing we can do about it. Repeat until it's true. 7. Blind loyalty was exploited. Boxer's mantras. I will work harder. Napoleon is always right. These two phrases define Boxer, and they destroy him. Who Boxer is? Strongest animal on the farm. Works from before dawn to after dark. Never complains. Always helps others. When the windmill falls, he blames himself. When food runs short, he eats less so others can eat more. When things go wrong, he just works harder. He represents millions of good people who believe hard work will be rewarded. Leaders deserve loyalty. The system works if you just do your part. When things go wrong, it's your fault for not trying hard enough. The promise. Napoleon promises Boxer a peaceful retirement in a corner of the pasture. He's earned it. Everyone agrees. The betrayal. Boxer collapses. He's worked himself literally to death. A van arrives. Benjamin reads the side. Horse slaughterer and glue boiler. Napoleon sold Boxer, his most loyal supporter, his hardest worker, to be turned into glue. For money, to buy whiskey. Squealer tells the animals Boxer died, peacefully in a hospital. His last words were, Napoleon is always right. All lies. The cruel irony. Every virtue Boxer had became a weapon used against him. His loyalty meant he never questioned. His work ethic meant he never noticed he was exploited. His trust meant he never protected himself. His strength made him more profitable to betray. His goodness didn't protect him. It made him vulnerable. The question: if you work yourself to death for a system, and the system rewards you by killing you for profit, were you loyal or were you a fool? The lesson Orwell is screaming. Loyalty must be earned, continuously. It's not disloyal to question authority. It's not selfish to demand fair treatment. It's not wrong to expect leaders to keep promises. Blind loyalty isn't virtue. It's vulnerability. See it everywhere. Workers who sacrifice everything. For companies that fire them by email. Soldiers sent to die in wars by leaders who dodge drafts. People who defend politicians who actively harm them. At least I have a job, while being exploited. Anyone who confuses obedience with morality. The pattern. Shut up and be grateful. Your suffering proves your virtue. Your leader knows best. External threats justified internal oppression. The magic question. Whenever animals questioned anything, Squealer asked, "Surely, comrades, you don't want Jones to come back?" Conversation over. The strategy. Napoleon maintained power through perpetual fear of external enemies. 1. The return of Jones, the original oppressor. The nightmare that justifies everything. 2. Snowball's sabotage years after he's gone. Snowball becomes a supernatural villain blamed for everything. 3. The human farmer's constant threat of invasion from neighboring farms. How it works. When you're afraid of an outside enemy, you tolerate internal oppression. Yes, things are hard. Yes, we're working more and eating less. But at least we're free. At least Jones isn't back. Any sacrifice is worth preventing that. The Snowball myth. Snowball was expelled years ago, but Napoleon keeps him alive as a boogeyman. Bad harvest? Snowball destroyed the crops at night. Tools broken? Snowball sabotaged them. Animals feeling sick? Snowball poisoned the water. It's absurd, supernatural, impossible, and it works because people need to explain their suffering. Blaming an invisible enemy is easier than blaming visible leaders. The loyalty test. Questioning Napoleon's policies becomes unpatriotic. Criticizing conditions becomes helping the enemy. You sound like Snowball. Are you a traitor too? Soon, all dissent equals disloyalty equals treason. The emergency that never ends. These are extraordinary times. We need extraordinary measures. Just temporarily. The emergency never ends. The temporary measures become permanent. Rights suspended for security are never returned. See it everywhere. McCarthyism. Are you now or have you ever been? War on terror? If you're not with us, you're with the terrorists' anti-immigrant rhetoric during economic problems, foreign interference, to explain domestic failures, any leader who uses external threats to justify internal control. The pattern. The enemy is at the gates. There's no time for debate. Trust me. Obey me. Save questions for after we're safe. After never comes. 9. Incrementalism made each step seem small. The boiling frog. You know the metaphor. If you throw a frog in boiling water, it jumps out immediately. But if you put it in cool water and slowly heat it, the frog doesn't notice the change until it's too late. The animals are the frog. The timeline. Week 1, pigs take the milk and apples. They need it for brain work. It's for everyone's benefit. Month 2, pigs sleep in the farmhouse beds. The commandment says beds with sheets. This is fine. Month 6, pigs start drinking alcohol. Just moderately. The commandment says to excess. Year 1, pigs walk on 2 legs. It's more efficient for leadership. Year 2, pigs wear clothes and carry whips. Symbols of authority. Keeps order. Year 3, pigs drink with human farmers. Building alliances. Strategic. Each step is small. Each is justified. Each is normalized before the next. Why it works. 1. Isolation. Each change seems minor on its own. 2. Justification. There's always a good reason. 3. Fatigue. Fighting every small battle is exhausting. 4. Normalization. After a while, you forget it was ever different. 5. Escalation. Each acceptance makes the next one easier. The commandment changes. Original. No animal shall sleep in a bed changed. No animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets. Original. No animal shall drink alcohol changed. No animal shall drink alcohol to excess. Original. No animal shall kill another animal changed. No animal shall kill another animal without cause. Original. All animals are equal final. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. The animals could swear the rules were different, but the wall says otherwise. Did they remember wrong? The question that traps you: is this really worth fighting over? It's just milk/beds/alcohol/clothes. Pick your battles. But by the time you pick your battle, you've already lost the war. See it everywhere. Emergency powers that become permanent, temporary. Surveillance becoming normal, rights eroded. One small law at a time, privacy invasion through gradual. Acceptance, democracy backsliding through small rule changes. Climate change through temperatures rising slowly. The pattern. Make the change small enough that resistance seems paranoid. Repeat until everything's changed. 10. The revolutionaries became what they fought against. The final scene. The animals peer through the farmhouse window. Inside, pigs and humans playing cards, laughing, drinking. The pigs are wearing clothes, walking on two legs, carrying whips. The animals look from pig to man, man to pig, pig to man again. They can't tell the difference. The full circle. They revolted against humans exploiting them. They ended up with pigs exploiting them. Same exploitation, same hierarchy, same suffering. The only difference? Now their oppressors used to be their comrades. Were the pigs always bad? This is the question that haunts readers. Napoleon clearly was. He raised the dogs in secret, expelled. Snowball through violence, manipulated from day one. But what about Snowball? He seemed genuinely idealistic. He wanted education, the windmill, progress for all. Yet even Snowball never questioned that pigs should lead. Never suggested rotating leadership. Never built systems to prevent tyranny. The assumption that some animals were naturally suited to rule, that assumption itself was the problem. How ideology gets corrupted. Old Major's dream was real. Freedom, equality, dignity. But once that dream became a tool for gaining power, the ideology was corrupted. The revolution stopped being about principles and became about who would rule. The two types of revolutionaries. Type 1. True believers, they genuinely want a better world. They believe the ideology. They'll sacrifice for it. Type 2. Power seekers, they see revolution as their path to control. They use the ideology as a weapon. They'll abandon it the second they have power. Type 2 is usually more ruthless, more organized, more willing to do violence. So Type 2 often wins. Then they betray Type 1. The impossible sentence. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Read that again. It's logically impossible. A contradiction in one sentence. Equality can't have degrees, but it's also perfect. It captures how revolutionaries become oppressors, how liberation movements become tyrannies, how the language of freedom gets twisted into justification for hierarchy. When words mean nothing, when equal means unequal, power is everything. The final betrayal. The worst part? The younger animals never knew Mr. Jones. They were born after the revolution. They only know the pigs rule. To them, this is normal. This is equality. This is freedom. The revolution didn't just fail. It was forgotten. See it everywhere. French Revolution, Reign of Terror, Napoleon's Empire, Russian Revolution, Lenin's vanguard, Stalin's purges, liberation movements becoming new authoritarian regimes, startups with idealistic missions becoming exploitative corporations, movements for justice becoming new hierarchies. The pattern: we're different. We're the good guys. We're fighting for freedom. Once we have power, we'll give it to the people. They never do. Orwell's message. IT doesn't have to end this way. Here's what people get wrong. They think Orwell is saying, revolutions always fail. Change is impossible. Give up. That's not the message. The message is, here's exactly how they fail. Now that you know, don't let it happen. What the animals should have done. 1. Distributed power. No concentration in one group. Rotate leadership. Share decisions. 2. Educated everyone. Make sure every animal could read. Think critically, verify facts. 3. Built accountability. Create systems to remove bad leaders. Require transparency. Protect dissent. 4. Protected truth. Establish independent sources of information. Make records. Remember. 5. Limited violence. Never give one group monopoly on force. Make power accountable to law. 6. Stayed engaged. No cynicism. No apathy. Constant participation. 7. Questioned loyalty. Support principles, not personalities. Demand leaders earn trust. 8. Focused internally. Don't let external threats justify internal oppression. 9. Watch the small. Changes resist the incremental. Notice the pattern early. 10. Protected the dream. Never let the revolution become about power instead of principles. The tragedy. The animals had the power. They outnumbered the pigs massively. If they'd acted together, early, decisively, united, they could have stopped Napoleon. But they didn't know the pattern. They didn't see it coming. By the time they understood, it was too late. The hope. You've read Animal Farm. You know the pattern now. You can see it forming. When power concentrates, when education is denied, when accountability disappears, when truth becomes flexible. When violence replaces debate, when cynicism wins, when loyalty is weaponized. When external threats justify oppression, when small changes add up, when revolutionaries become rulers. You have the advantage the animals didn't have: awareness. The question Orwell leaves you with: which animal are you? Boxer? Working hard, trusting blindly, being exploited? Benjamin? Seeing everything, doing nothing, cynical and paralyzed? Squealer? Using your intelligence to manipulate for power? Napoleon? Seeking power above all else? The sheep? Repeating slogans without thinking? Or one of the animals at the window, finally seeing the pattern, understanding what happened, facing the choice of what to do next? The real message: winning the revolution is easy, protecting it is hard. Freedom isn't a destination, it's a constant process. Democracy isn't a system you install and forget. It's a practice you do daily. Rights aren't guaranteed, they're defended. Truth isn't obvious, it's investigated. Justice isn't automatic, it's fought for. The moment you relax, assume your leaders are good, believe the work is done, that's when tyranny creeps in. The warning: all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Unless you notice, unless you resist, unless you refuse, the farm doesn't have to end this way. The story isn't inevitable. It only happens when good animals do nothing. Now what? You've seen the pattern. You can't unsee it. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you be Boxer, loyal to the point of exploitation? Will you be Benjamin, aware but inactive? Or will you be something the animals never were? Vigilant, educated, organized, active. The revolution is always at risk. The question is always the same: who's watching the watchers? The answer better be you.